Hello, 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 and welcome. It's a Friday night, a lovely one at that. And of course, it's time once again for the O&M Late Show. My name is MADUKWE. So excited to be here tonight. Of course, my tag team partner, Obiora, standing right next to me. Obiora.
Yeah, on a night that we hear so much about recovery of government property from outgoing administrations all over the country, of course in Bauchi, we are hearing that, I need to bring out the figures because it's very important, that 11 cars were recovered from the first wife.
Wife number one.
Wife number one of the former Bauchi State Governor, Isa Yuguda. His second wife, 7 cars were recovered.
Wife number 2.
And from the third wife, 4 cars recovered.
Wife number 3. But Obiora, that's not all.
That's not all.
Wife number 4 is abroad as we speak. So they have to wait for her to come back.
So they can determine how many she has.
How many cars she has. This, for me, really... at a time where we should be talking about bringing down cost of governance, politicians should be showing some level of commitment and dedication to service. Actually, what we are seeing is commitment and dedication to servicing themselves and their families. I mean, 4 wives, all with numerous cars, the first wife with 11 vehicles. Where are you driving those vehicles to?
20-something cars, actually.
And
we've not talked about the one the governor took himself.
No. I think the one for the governor, I mean, with all due respect to the governor's office, and I think the current governor too has said the governor is entitled to some cars when he's leaving office.
No, the point I'm making is if the wife has 11, the governor that is entitled should at least have ×2.
Well,
that's like 22 cars or something.
But we are not looking at the governor now. So we're just looking at the wives, really. If the wives could take that much and go home with it, you know, I mean, it's mind-boggling.
And of course, we've heard stories of governors that took everything in the government houses.
Yes.
Left nothing for the incoming administration.
You remember
most of the governors are going to be operating from outside.
Remember the back and forth with Rotimi Amechi and Nyesom Wike. We really don't know who's telling the truth even up till now. But what we saw very clearly was that the government house was empty.
And now you're talking about Rivers State.
Yes.
There was actually
another refund or a recovery.
A recovery,
yes.
A very dramatic recovery.
Yes.
The agents of the Rivers State government went there with what they use at the port.
Yes, you know, those forklifts.
With cranes.
Cranes, yes.
And took, you know.
It was a very serious operation, like what you see if you're watching a movie, American movie.
Gangster movie.
Yeah, that kind of thing. You know, when you see the FBI guys arrive and all that, before you know what is happening, they're busting through the door and, you know, just something like that. You know, but for me, Obiora, really, the signal and the message for me is rather worrisome. Anyway, the vehicle we are talking about, it's
an armored vehicle.
It's an armored vehicle, which means that it's nothing. It should be somewhere in the range of some 30, 40, something million naira for that single vehicle because it's armored. And she says, "Look, it's my entitlement."
No, I read somewhere else that she said is her husband's. That the vehicle was given to the husband by the bank where he used to be executive director. I understand he's managing director now. Yeah. So, you know, so many back and forth. But some people in the social media have said they should go to court if they are sure.
Yeah, they should.
That it's not the property of Rivers State government.
And I think that Nigerians need to see the end of that story so we can be sure who is being mischievous.
Yes.
Yes, we need to know who is being mischievous. If it's the governor of Rivers State that is being mischievous, we need to know. If it's the commissioner, the former commissioner of information that is also being mischievous, we need to know. And then the courts need to start prosecuting some of these people.
Oh, yes.
Yes, if they are found guilty, we need to start showing some examples that if you hold office it's not a prerogative for you to just loot the way I mean, look at what is happening in Niger State, Obiora.
2.9 billion.
Yes,
taken one single day.
Yes,
we understand it's about a day before the
on
governor.
On the 28th.
On the 28th of May.
Yes, you know, and this money was not used for any project. I mean, they just sat down, wrote some names, as we have been told, and monies were allocated. For instance, the Secretary to State Government for Niger State, his office was allocated 600 million naira.
A day before he left office.
A day before he left office. I mean,
maybe they had a backlog of
some
payments that they needed the money for.
But whatever it is, they need to come out and let us know. They need to. And Obiora, this is coming from a state where the man calls himself a chief servant.
Yes.
A servant to the people.
Yeah. For 8 years.
I think some of these governors really.
Well, you made a point.
Yes.
Those agencies that are charged
yes.
with these responsibilities should, go to task.
Yes.
You know,
we need to get to the bottom.
And again, we could see some mischief in some of these things. So it's important
that we know the truth.
The governors or the
yes.
new governors are not the accused, the judge.
Yes.
You say Mamode took a car, accusation.
Yes.
You find him guilty, you take the car.
Yes.
So the governors also have to, take these things to the domain of the people that are supposed to handle it.
Yeah, I must also tell you that some of these states where we are seeing this kind of things now, you must also recognize that there are states where leadership,
bad blood.
Yeah, bad blood, because party leadership in the state has changed in some cases from PDP to APC, and vice versa. So there's some bad blood. I mean, the River State, you don't want to talk about that. The bad blood there is, unbelievable.
Let's leave the former governors and the new governors and the antagonisms and all that. And
the alleged looting.
Investigations and the looting. Let's talk about something that is very commendable, if it's completely true,
yes.
that our president is going to sell about 9 aircraft
yes.
that Hitato was part of the presidential fleet. We understand?
Yes, Obiora, I might have a little problem there with you when you say very commendable.
I mean, on the president's side, if he has decided to reduce the cost of governance?
Well, yeah, good gesture. Not very, very commendable. Look, this
I didn't say very, very commendable.
This presidential fleet has 16 aircrafts. And the president is selling off 9. That leaves 7.
Let's commend the president for selling 9. Maybe in due time.
From that 16, some of these things are unbelievable. Out of the 16 in the presidential fleet, 8 were specially reserved for Mr. President. Who does that?
He has wives.
Who does that?
Maybe, anyway.
We have to, as a nation.
It's pathetic.
As a nation,
we
really need to take care of. Yes, Mr. President, good start. Auctioning 9 of those aircrafts, but really, what do we still need another 7 for? And by the way, it costs the Nigerian government 12 billion naira annually just to maintain those aircrafts.
That's scandalous.
12 billion. So it's...
we hope they get it right this time, because we craved for change, and we want to see the change permeate every facet of governance in Nigeria.
Yes. It's the season of Ramadan. Still talking about President Buhari. And he's taking the opportunity of the Ramadan to appeal to Boko Haram and the insurgents to please sheath their swords, put down the guns in the name of Islam. And he says to them that they are tarnishing the name of Islam worldwide. And whatever it is that they are doing, they need to stop and put a stop to it.
And that's why tonight we'll be focusing in one of our segments on the job done so far by President Buhari as it concerns the insurgency. What value has his actions brought to the fight against insurgency? And what can be done more, to try to sort out this problem. And we have in our studios, and I'm sure our cameras would get him now, MADUKWE UKEAGBU. MADUKWE UKEAGBU has a PhD in criminology.
Yes, criminology.
Yes. You know. And besides that, he's been in government, served in various capacities. So tonight, he'll be bringing his experience to bear on that topic.
Yes.
And that will be in a moment.
Okay. And also joining us later today, probably we're going to be talking a little bit about the cost of governance and what's the appropriate cost and a lot of these things that are happening. And we're going to be talking to somebody who knows very well what it is to be in government. He's been a minister, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Minister of State, FCT. I'm talking about ODOM CHUKA. He will be joining us also to talk
He's
about...
also, CHUKA is also a lawyer. And,
yes, a legal practitioner.
Yeah, so both of them will be joining us later in the program. Don't go away. It's your Friday night show, the O&M Late Show with Obiora and Mamode.
नमस्कार बाबूजी।
कैसे दिया है? कितने का है?
बाबूजी 30 रुपए का बिल्कुल ताजा बाबूजी मलाई वाला मीठा बाबूजी।
ये 30 रुपए का। पर लूट मचा रखी है क्या तुम लोगों ने? 15 का दे रहे हैं बता।
बाबूजी क्या बात कर रहे हो? सुबह से हम धूप में खड़े हैं बाबूजी। हमें भी रोटी खानी है बाबूजी। 15 की तो लागत नहीं है हमारी।
चल, चोर है तू। चोर।
अरे वो लाल शर्ट वाले बाबूजी।
क्या हुआ?
कितने का लिया आपने?
35 रुपए की।
35 रुपए का। और कितना कम कराया इस ड्रिंक में आपने?
पागल है तू। ब्रांडेड चीज है। इसमें थोड़ा कुछ कम होता है।
वाह बाबूजी वाह। अमीरों से आपने 1 रुपया कम नहीं कराया और हम गरीबों से 15 रुपए कम कराने को बोला आपने बाबूजी।
एकदम सही बात की तुमने।
Well, very thought-provoking what you saw there now on watching the internet. A lot of people are guilty, very, very guilty, and we must begin to turn a new leaf. Obiora, when you are in traffic, you know, somebody stops by and is hawking something, you know, a lot of people find themselves bargaining and bargaining and bargaining to the very, very last kobo. You know?
But when they're in the supermarket,
when you move into
they just pay.
You just pay, no bargain, nothing. You know, so and you know, these supermarkets are owned by very rich people already, and you know, these people in traffic, they're very poor people trying to make ends meet, and you bargain with them, you know, to the very last kobo.
They don't get any profit.
We must begin to change. And for those of you who are comfortable, most of the time, take a spare thought. How much profit will they make at the end of the day? Just pay and, you know, ask them to keep the change, really.
Oh, Mamade, I think while we were starting the program, we forgot to say that we've also learned that the spokesperson of the president had said they were not, they had no information about the sale of aircraft. Of any aircraft by the presidency.
We'll get into that controversy before we get to the end of our program today. But let us, at this time, Obiora, where do we begin really?
Oh, we begin with the former Minister
Yes.
of the Minister of State for the FCT,
Okay.
CHUKA, ODOM, who is already here in the studio.
Okay.
And we'll be looking at cost of governance, of course, all the political controversies. He's been a party man,
Yes.
both in the state, both in the federal.
Uh-huh.
So he'll be joining us now to look at some of those issues. Honorable Minister, we are glad to have you on our show.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Thanks so very much.
Sit, please.
Well, you know, you know, one of the reasons when we were, making the decision about who should be on the show tonight, we said we have to look for a former, very senior government official. Because there's so much
A high ranking.
a high-ranking government official, because there's been all these stories coming from the states. Oh, this person took this person took that. And I told Mahmoud that when you come, the first question I'll ask, how many cars did you go with when
you were
finished
leaving office?
as minister?
Quite frankly, I didn't see any vehicles at all. Well, on a more serious note, I think it's something that is very reprehensible. If the information that is filtering out to the public domain is anything to go by, that officials that are leaving their positions they had occupied some for 8 years are not satisfied with what they got. They had to take vehicles. They had to carry things belonging to government house.
Take furniture.
Take furniture,
TV
take
sets.
gas. That is very reprehensible. It shows the mindset of people that were elected to be in government. I feel very sad about it. I just hope that tomorrow somebody will wake up and say it's not true, that this information is not correct, that nothing was taken. Because I can't make sense out of it. How somebody who had been the chief executive of a state, serving the state for 8 years, who is sitting on the resources of the state for 8 good years. And at the end of the day, what is important to you when you're leaving is to cut away things that belongs to government, to even allow your spouses to begin to steal things that belong to the state, which you can easily afford as a former governor. I don't want to...
I mean, some of them have wonderful pensions.
Yes.
I mean, they passed with their state houses of assembly.
I don't
and all
want
that.
to say that. I will reserve my comment because...
Hoping that somebody wakes up and says
Yes,
it's not
absolutely.
true.
I honestly hope that somebody will say tomorrow morning that this is all social media rumor, that it is not true. There's no car that's taken. Because if that is true, then that is just mere stealing. It is stealing. And if people in government houses are thieves, so we've had thieves for 8 years. If they can go and pick up vehicles, then God knows what else is left.
Yes, but tell me, I mean, you are a politician as well, a party man. Some of these things, can we put them past politicians, really? Judging from, the fact that in some of these states, leadership has moved from one party to another. In some of these states,
Acrimonious
there's
elections
bad
and
blood, and is it not out of place that witch hunting?
That's why I'm hedging my comment on the fact that let me hope that this is mere rumor. We mix a lot of things up in this country. You can say politicians. Yes, politics is a good profession. It is an opportunity, it's a platform to serve your country. And we didn't invent it. It is not meant for criminals and rogues and career thieves. It's meant for people who have distinguished themselves in their various fields of calling and who want to give back to society. Forget what bad names. Every system, every profession, every calling has the bad eggs. Yeah. That doesn't define that profession. So I just want to believe, and I say this with utmost sense of responsibility, that I don't believe this piece of information. And I do hope tomorrow that something will happen. If somebody on the street goes to mold the spare key of somebody's car to open the car and drive it away. What is it?
Stealing.
Is it not stealing?
Yes.
If he's caught, what happens?
Of course, it goes
Does
to
it
prison.
make it any different that the thief is a former governor or is a former senator or is a former minister? A thief is a thief, for crying out loud. So we cannot dilute some of these things on the basis of politics or whatever. So that is why I'm being very careful here by not sounding judgmental. I just want to say that I heard it, but I have no reason to believe that a former governor will allow his spouses to turn into bandits, cutting away government property.
Okay, let's move away from that. Let's assume there's some truth in what has been said. That goes to show that so much is being spent in governance, so much costs. You know, we've heard stories about Nigeria spending a greater percentage of its annual resources on overhead, on recurrent expenditure, you know. And of course, we also hear the president is going to sell some aircraft. We hear he's not going to sell some aircraft. But one thing has come to fore, that our presidential fleet has 16 executive jets. And about the cheapest among them, from what we read, is about $20 million US dollars.
Well,
how can we bring down the cost of governance?
Do we need 16 aircrafts in our presidential fleet?
Well, let me start by the issue of recurrent expenditure, what you call the overhead. It's no secret that in the last 16 years, our governments, both at the federal and state level, have been running budgets that are recurrent expenditure heavy. And that accounts for why there is poor implementation of capital projects. If you spend 70% of your earnings on overhead, salaries, grants, travels, and all that, there's no way a developing economy can survive under that kind of arrangement. Now, try as much as previous administrations had done to cut down the cost of governance. They have not been able to succeed because there's no fiscal discipline in the system. There's no means you can achieve that because government has become some kind of a country club where you must find job for the boys somehow. And the more people come in to see government as a means of easy funds, easy cash, then that becomes impossible to control the recurrent expenditure. So, and anybody who tries to limit the scope of this recurrent expenditure will not win elections because you need to have an eye on the people. You need to give them money, you need to buy them stuff. And this is what is informing this overhead bloated expenditure.
How do we win elections and bring down the cost of governance? Because it's not just about winning elections. Is it not time some politicians in Nigeria will say, let's do the right thing, I'd rather lose election than not do the right thing?
Sadly, politicians don't think about losing elections. They think about winning elections.
So that you can do the right
thing. So that you can come in there because you have to have a platform first before you start doing the right thing or the wrong thing. The most important thing for most politicians is to win elections. And politicians are no dummies. They understand the environment. They read people's psyche. It's more of a vicious circle. If you are a politician and you're doing the right thing, and you're going away with your pay packet, you cannot have enough money to go home every fortnight to share money in your village. If you're not sharing money, you're wicked. You're eating alone. That is the truth. And the other politicians, your opponents in that constituency, will come and spread the information and the news that this man, forget all this is posturing about being honest, about being decent.
He's also chopping.
He is chopping. He is making money. The only difference between him and myself is that we steal from the same source, but I come here to share whatever I got. He keeps his own.
Is it the people?
Are
the people, the electorate, the ordinary people, are they the problem?
They are not the problem. It is the system. You see, but
everybody keeps talking about the system.
Let me give you an example. This election that we just concluded was one of the elections where the primary election was more expensive than the election proper. To get the ticket of a political party that is strong in any constituency costs more than the actual election
itself.
It's no secret. I don't want to give you instances. You all know about that. Now, why is it so? Who will bear the cat? We all talk about the system because it is a kind of a mutual deceit. People who say they want you to go there, they want you to be honest, they want you to do the right thing. And then you come back and they tell you, what did you come back with? It's like somebody going to the market and you had no money on you. And then when you're coming back, people are expecting you to come back with loads and loads of goodies.
It means you've stolen from the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that the reorientation we are talking about here is not only about the political class or the political elite. We have to enthrone virtues, values, which the people will accept. I think we have gone too far on this journey of deceit.
Yes.
When people will come and say, look, we want an honest man. Buhari has come in. The president, Nigerians know him as somebody who is disciplined, somebody who is forthright. But trust me, let's move down the line. As we move along, some people are going to see that virtue is its own reward.
Yeah, but Minister, the issue of the Nigerian politician and his love for deceit. The deceit starts with the politicians themselves.
There is no questions about that.
Yeah, so but how do we address that? Because you see so many, you ask a member of parliament, member of the House of Reps or Senate, what's your take-home pay? I mean, till date, we really don't know what it is. There was so much talk about wardrobe allowance a few days ago. You saw the up and down, oh, it's this amount of money, revenue mobilization, fiscal commission. So don't even bother about what you are hearing. They don't get more than 500,000. I mean, nothing is clear.
See, I've argued in the past that the only way out of this is to make public office less attractive financially. If you make public office less attractive financially to the knowledge of the people, those queues, those crowds that gather in front of the houses of politicians who expect money will be told that there's nothing more to share. Because the politician, let's face it, most politicians don't have a day job. They don't make money. Yeah. They don't have, the few of us who have means of livelihood outside politics. The most, 80% of Nigerian politicians are career politicians who stay idle throughout the period they are not in power, and they wait for election cycle
to recoup,
to make sure they get back to power.
They go into incubation.
Yeah.
So there are very few people who can serve at certain level and then come back and go to what they practice, become lawyers again, become doctors, or become architects.
But how do we go? How do we get to that point where I mean, the suggestion you are making?
The point is this: there has to be that will, the political will. And that political will does not happen overnight. It is an evolutionary process. That is why I said when President Buhari won this election, I said, look, yes, it is a good development. Apart from the fact that it is a good omen when a ruling party, after some time, is replaced. Whether they are doing the right thing or the wrong thing, let a new hand, let a new set of people come in so that we can see how much they can do. Based on all those criticisms, it's good. That's how a country grows. But the issue here now is that in that process, they have to show that this, which this other party is doing, is wrong, and we're going to change. We don't want change that looks like the difference between 6 and half a dozen. That's not the change Nigerians are clamoring for. I do not want to make any statement in that direction because it will be too early. It's less than 1 month this government came into place. So it will be preposterous and unfair to this administration for somebody to even attempt to evaluate their preliminary steps. My position is Nigerians should have patience, give the president all the support he needs, all the cooperation he needs, at least for the next 1 year. Let us see where these people are going to.
Okay, let's try to
conclude. The honeymoon period will last for 12 months.
Let's conclude quickly. One of the first steps this government and this party has taken is the leadership of the National Assembly. Does that give away the signs of the things we are going to see?
I don't think APC fumbled. That is the popular belief out there, that they fumbled, they didn't manage the leadership, measures of leadership in the National Assembly. No. What is happening is the deepening of our democracy. It is the evolutionary system, the things we're asking for. It's happening, but we're not prepared for it. Somebody was supposed to be in the National Assembly by 10 o'clock on the 9th of June. He decided to attend a party meeting when the president has issued a proclamation declaring that Parliament will be inaugurated by 10 a.m. on that day. Yes. And an elected senator decided to go and attend a party event. Which one is superior, the proclamation of the president or the party event? Has it ever happened that the Queen is coming to declare Parliament open and some parliamentarians are in their party head office or some location having private meetings? That is to show you how weak the system is. And what happened was the strengthening of the system, because the election took place in spite of the absence of people who thought that without their presence, the election would not hold. That is how
it's not likely to ever happen again.
Exactly. That is how a system grows. That is how precedents are set. Now it becomes clearer to everybody that, oh well, this proclamation of the president is a constitutional process and it has taken place. So all this running helter-skelter shows a poor understanding of the practice of governance and democracy. So again, people think that APC, because they are in the majority, will have to produce all the principal officers. No, that's not how democracy works. Their majority is a very slim one. And who told you that all APC senators will buy into the president's legislative agenda on every national issue? So they need bipartisan cooperation from the opposition party for the president to push his legislative agenda through.
By compulsion?
Of course, yes. So there is nothing unusual that happened. People are just making mountains out of molehills, because these people, whether they are of APC or PDP stock, are senators elected by the people. And they have are sitting there in representative capacity of their various constituencies. And they pledge allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So they are bound to support what in conscience they consider beneficial to their constituencies. So the president has to work through that bipartisan line to make sure that his legislative agenda goes through. And that can only happen when you have this type of bipartisan leadership in the House. So it is nothing unusual.
Well,
so our democracy is growing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there.
Long live Nigeria.
Honourable Minister, we must thank you.
Thank you very much
for your insight in these matters.
Thank you so much.
Your first time on the show, so we have to give you this.
I appreciate this.
Yes.
This is very nice. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matthew.
So we take a break. When we return, we talk about the efforts of the president to curb the insurgency. Don't go away.
Government is doing its best.
Buhari himself is an issue. Just as the Buhari organization has made Goodluck Jonathan an issue.
We have laws, we have institutions set up to fight corruption.
Advocacy for the chief of health is born out of what they symbolize.
The average Nigerian wants to know, what do you have for him?
Fanika Yede was with us for a while.
What happened?
I think he came on a journey and discovered that we are too transparent for him.
A banking license was cancelled in one day, and a airline license was cancelled in one day.
When I was retrenched, it became worse. Sometimes to even find food to give to the children was hell.
Don't tell us you want.
Well, you're watching the O&M Late Show. And next on our agenda this evening is the fight against Boko Haram. Our president has reached out asking Boko Haram to take it easy. But before then, he has taken some measures to curb the insurgency. And joining us now is Dr. MADUKWE UKEAGBU, who is a PhD in criminology and a defense analyst.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Doc.
Welcome.
Well,
so
welcome to the program.
Thank you. I didn't know he was that tall.
Oh, well.
Oh, he's very tall. But I know how to manage it.
Yeah. So tell me, straight up, are you impressed with the efforts that Mr. President has put in the last 2 weeks, assuming office? And do they look like efforts that will yield fruits?
Bring value?
Yes, of course. Let me first of all commend President Buhari, because it shows that he's a true military man before becoming a civilian president. Because the first thing he did was to have a discussion with other member countries that are involved in the fight of this menace called Boko Haram. I'm sure the briefings will assist him in fortifying the military and other security agencies in Nigeria. For him not to have made that journey, to me, would have been a mistake. So Nigerians must commend him. That means, as a former general, he understood the seriousness of collaborating with Chad, Cameroon, and all the rest of the country, Niger, all the rest of the countries that he went to consult with. Very important. So I commend him.
Okay. Yes, the president said you can't be fighting Boko Haram from a distance. Take the command headquarters to Borno.
Maiduguri.
But we are seeing a rise in the attacks by Boko Haram.
Of course.
What is responsible for that? Or what may be responsible for that?
Usually when you, I mean, in war, terrorism engagement, when you rattle
the enemy?
most terrorists or enemies, they usually will find a way to continue to keep up the tempo. And because from the war psych understanding, if they keep quiet, whoever is funding them, whoever is doing, whoever is supporting them, will, the morale of your opponent, in this case, the terrorist, will now be dampened. And that's something that they don't want anyway, that is the world to know.
So they have to keep up their game?
They have to keep up their game. For instance, as I was driving to the studio, I see people, I see policemen shaking cars, flashing light. If I'm a criminal, I wouldn't take that route. I'll go and do my deed somewhere else. I have advised the former IGP. I was privileged to have a dinner with him. And the reason why I'm laying this foundation is so that we can understand the psyche of war. I was having dinner with him and I said to him, one of the best things, one of the best policies that you have implemented is disenfranchising the roadblock. The police should be able to have vehicles that are on patrol.
Probably unmarked?
Unmarked in most cases. Marked and unmarked. For instance, where these people come to use children as suicide bombers, there should be police present, marked and unmarked. It's common human psychology to, when you see a police vehicle, there is something that comes over you. It's just natural.
Deterrence.
Even if there is nobody sitting inside the car. For instance, you and I have had the privilege of being overseas. In New York Times Square, you remember what happened? There was a threat. Even though that threat was not carried out, the guy was caught. But what the New York police did was to place their vehicles in strategic places so that people can, even if they are not inside the car, people can feel their presence.
The aura
Of
the police.
Of the police. So what the Boko Haram is doing with the question you ask is to say we are still here.
In spite of your efforts.
In spite of your efforts.
In spite of all the things you said about Buhari coming to stop it.
They've been degraded. Quite all right. They've been degraded. Because the evil forest or the so-called Sambisa forest, the military has penetrated into it. Unlike before. So the military now has an upper hand in what they are doing, which the military should also be commended. It's not an easy task to fight. You know, in a conventional warfare, you know the battle line is drawn, rules of engagement is known, but Boko Haram does not have any rules of engagement.
And that's why we have to bring this question up.
Yes.
The allegation of Amnesty International.
Yes.
Amnesty International.
Will that not dampen the spirits of our military officers? Because they're accusing them of human rights violations, summary executions, torture, and all sorts of...
And they're fighting a group that
also
has no norms.
It's one thing for you to have an opponent who does not have rules of engagement. But it's another thing from what the Amnesty International said they investigated. For instance, I listened very attentively to one of the investigators who said that people were lined up, quote unquote, by a Nigerian military. It's on television. That's the accusation. People who were arrested were lined up, either shot or knife or whatever used in killing them. At that point, whether it's our own military in uniform or people who are disguised in uniform, I think the accusation there is something that the military need to defend.
But the military is inviting Amnesty to join the inquiry, and Amnesty is turning it down.
Well, that is something that they need to sort out. Despite what I will call the normal, conventional war engagement. But when you arrest even the worst of opponents, because it must be clear, because Nigeria is a signatory to the war conventions, when you arrest your opponent or you arrest your enemy, he is entitled to a fair trial. That is just the way it is, whether you like it or not. That's just the way it is. This personal thing that you must revenge because of the atrocities committed by these people, when you are a signatory to the Warsaw Convention, as it is called,
cannot absolve you.
Cannot absolve you. That is just the problem. And this is the training that our military need to, at least for those of them. Of course, you've seen what some of the military young men do. They, when you're passing through their, let's say, their garrison, you don't make a phone call. I don't know where that is coming from. You don't do certain things, which is okay if that will save the situation. But I've seen people, for instance, about 2 weeks ago, people were mounted on cars doing a frog jump. And that is what the Amnesty International are seeing. And it's not peculiar to world standard of treating civilians that way. This is one of the countries where military and civilian mix up. In the United States, military and civilian don't even use the same highway in most cases. Hardly do you see military men using a particular highway unless they are giving access to use that particular highway. That's how rigid it is. But we are developing and evolving. I don't expect the military to some extent to copy verbatim what is happening in the Western developed world. But it is important for the military to understand that when you arrest even the worst criminals,
they must respect some human rights.
Yes. The conventions that you signed, if you didn't sign the convention, then it's a separate issue altogether.
Going forward, with everything that President Buhari has done, what should be his next line of action in this battle?
For me, his next line of action should be, as the mop-up operations are ongoing, the police, who are the constitutionally empowered to secure and protect the lives of Nigerian citizens, should now move in. Among them should be psychologists, among them should be educators, among them should be what I call counselors, people who should be counseling victims. And also the so-called former terrorists.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, these are citizens of Nigeria. Yes, of course, there may be some foreign influence, on the terrorists that are actually fighting Nigeria. But the most important thing is that as the mop-up is going on, the security agencies should come in, medical doctors, psychologists, like I said, and so many other apparatus personnel that are involved in rehabilitation.
All right, final question before we go. From your studies of situations like this in other parts of the world where it has happened before, does your studies suggest that there is a possibility that we can still see our daughters? I'm talking about the Chibok girls.
Of course. As you knew, we all knew, some people were rescued. Children, men, women, pregnant women. It is possible. It is possible. It just depends on the intelligence agencies being able to do their work. Because part of the problem that the military were having before, they take a territory, nobody occupies it. They were behaving like Napoleon. If you remember the history of Napoleon de Bonaparte, he conquered many nations, but when he looked back, he didn't leave any governors nor generals to guard where he conquered
territories. Yes.
So the guys will come back.
As you knew, when he was coming back, the so-called celebrated Waterloo, when somebody says you are going to have your own Waterloo, it means that you didn't do the needful in war. You didn't capture and keep. So the military must capture and keep.
Okay.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to
do
the honors?
Thank you.
This
is for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Nice show.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll have you again some other time.
Well done.
All right.
Well done.
So that's our package. We'll be doing it again on Sunday afternoon at 2.
Yeah.
If you missed part of this program, go to 8blnews.com or get our app on Google or the Apple Store.
Yeah.
I'm Obiora Ilo.
And I am Mahmoud Akuga. See you Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are great, yes.